start with the history of mind control. The history of mind control. Marco Polo, in 1298, went to Persia and visited the Moors. There was a man in Persia, a Moor in Persia, named Alauddin. Alauddin, who a European later copied the last name called Houdini. 1298 in Persia, which is today modern day Iran. Alauddin was the leader of a group of people called the Hashashin. If any Moors in here, you know that Hashashin means assassins, which we're going to get into later on, because there are teams of black women called the Black Angels, teamed up in 3 who are assassins. Remember what happened to Jam Master Jay? Go see the movie Charlie's Angels. Just because they're white, it throws you off. You can't get the science because they put a white face up in there. Forget about the white face. Everything they learn is from you. Charlie's Angels is a team of black assassins who learned the science that was taught way back in 1298 by the Hashashin. As a matter of fact, I got slides of this. So we're talking about something that's more ancient than we perceive. And I can take you further back, but I want to start here because the Romans, go see what's the Passion of Christ? That is a torture ritual dealing with mind control. Now, Alauddin would go to these villages, these communities, and what he would do is he would get young boys between the age of, say, 11 and 17. And they would come into their house at night while they were asleep and drug them and take them to these mountain hideouts. And at these mountain hideouts, what would happen is they would treat them nice, give them food, women, all these wonderful things that most of us want. And they would say, look, as time went on, they would say, you got to go back to earth. You're in heaven, you got to go back to earth. And when you go back to earth, we're going to send a messenger to give you a message so that you can do what we tell you to do. And that's where you get the science of the prophets in the Bible. And they would take these particular children, drug them again, and take them back to their homes. And when they took them back to their homes, they would send a person to them and trigger them or tell them what they need to do, and the child would get up and go kill somebody or whatever they had to do, assassinate. That's what they were, they're assassins. This is where the science is coming from. Now, of course, it's much more ancient than that. Did I show that?
No.
Young boys, they take them up to these mountain hideouts. We're talking about the history of mind control. The history. Now, I can give you this stuff before I get into programming. These are some of the slides. Now, this is from a book, a very rare book, called The Secret Museum of Mankind. And in there, they got all these hidden pictures of different things that went on all around the world with mind control and history. And these are some of the pictures that I'm showing you now. Now, they have different forms of mind control we're going to get into. Of programming. And you got to ask yourself why, first of all, why in the hell would you want to mind control and program somebody? What's the deal with that? Well, if I was with the Illuminati, to get people to do what I want them to do for this so-called New World Order, if I had a plan and I want to get that plan across, I have to, because tanks, you gotta understand something. Tanks, guns, and bullets cannot control the whole world. If China decided they wanted to walk across America and take over America, guns and tanks and bullets and shit won't stop them. So what do you need? Mind control. What's stopping you from rising up after all the shit you've been through? What's stopping you from rising up and kicking their ass? Is it guns? Those marchers on Penn Station, those marchers on Penn Station, they could have had all the fucking guns they want. That shit would have done them no fucking good. Why? How many of us saw the trucks with the radio transmission beams on top of those trucks they were ready to use on those crowds? They used them in Iraq. They used them in Iraq. I think it was the first Gulf War when the Iraqis were in these underground places. And they had these helicopters, they beamed out these sound waves, and all the Iraqis came up and surrendered. The ones who didn't surrender, they buried them, crushed them and buried them alive. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands of them gave themselves up. Remember when they pulled down the statue? Where all those people come from? Understand that. We're talking about a global programming and mind control. Now bear with me, I have a lot of writing to do and a lot of reading to do. First thing I want to give you is the structure, the basic structure of the Illuminati, which we all know about the dollar bill and the pyramid and all like that. And you got to understand something. The Illuminati sees programmed people, which is us here. Understand what I said at the very beginning. There is general programming, which you are programmed from television, society, and all this shit. And then there is specific programming. Get the tape by Brian Long. Brian Long, a brother who was put in jail with no crime, chips put all in his head. He was specifically chosen as a mind control experiment. And what they do is in grade school, when you go to grade school, to your programmer, when you go there, they test you in various areas. And they look at your scores to decide who to pick for specific programming. And the Carlisle group, and what's that group that funded Khalid Muhammad when he went to school? Ford Foundation. They come and get you when you're a boy. Understand that. Based on test scores. And first they put you in a classroom with a programmer, who the programmer has someone over them called a controller, and on and on and on. So you're living in a world that is programmed completely. And this is the wake-up call. We'll start here at the top of the pyramid. Remember, in fake Christian history, they say slaves built the pyramid. That's how they view you. Has nothing to do with Jesus, nothing to do with Christianity. It's how they see you. When you see that dollar bill with a pyramid on it, that's the Illuminati eye and how they look at the slaves. At the top of the pyramid, we have the Illuminati. Beneath them, who are controlled, the controllers of the Committee of 300. Let's spell it right. Close enough. You have the Committee of 300 who is controlled by the Illuminati. below that, you have the 13 bloodlines. I mean, pretty much y'all should know this, basically. It's in every kind of way Cooper did it and all this kind of stuff. But for the purpose of the tape and for the purpose of what I'm going to say, I need to show this. So, you have the 13 bloodlines who are over you. The Committee of 300 control the 13 bloodlines. Everybody with me? The Committee of 300 is controlled by the Illuminati. And above that is probably some reptilian shit. These two groups right here are under mind control. That's why there is never any deviation in their plans. They are all under mind control. And a few of these also, the Bushes and so forth. They're nowhere near the Illuminati. They're somewhere here in the bloodline.
Can I get a picture of that, babe? Thank you.
Now, people who are not susceptible to programming, specific programming, are usually killed. White people with blonde eyes, blonde hair and blue eyes, and white people with red hair and green eyes are more easily programmed than black people. Understand that? And so, I mean, this is where racism comes in. We ain't racist. We don't give a fuck. They're racist. They can't propagate that shit on you. You don't give a fuck about it. You don't listen to nobody. You see? You have to program white people that way. Not black. I don't give a fuck. You could beat a nigga down in the street by 20 cops. He might get some revenge, but later on, I don't fuck that nigga. I don't give a fuck. You know? I'm serious. That's the way this shit go. Now, that's the reason for prison. It's because black people are not as easily susceptible to programming as whites. You got a few here and there, sleepers and all like that, but those are specific programs. Dealing generally right here. That's why when you go down to the march, it was mostly white folks. And by the way, I think it was on the first or the second day, I don't know which day, but they arrested all those protesters. They all had money, they all got out of jail except for one 17-year-old boy. Sitting up in the fucking jailhouse. All the motherfuckers he done marched with got millions of dollars, but they ain't get his ass out, let him sit there. Just to show your ass about that marching shit. We're gonna get into that. We're not here to step on any toes or anything like that. What I want you to understand is what's going on in your reality. And because if you don't understand it, you're gonna be susceptible to it. And it's gonna fuck you up. The white boy's coming down with some wild shit. So understand that. Now, let's deal with some numbers here. I got so much information here. I hope we can give you all the best of it. Vital stuff. Earth has about 6.3 billion people on it. About, approximately. Out of that 6.3 billion people, 1 to 2% are specifically programmed. That means 63 to 200 million people are programmed specifically. What I mean is, they have programs in them that tells that they are triggered and they go out and do killings. Just what the other day, you see a brother shot 2 cops. What does that generate? What's going on there? What about Russia? What the fuck is Russia talking about fighting against terrorism when that's the most lockdown fucking country in the world. That's some American Illuminati shit. The Romanov family, that was a major ritual. And yesterday they had a child on the cover saying, oh, he made it. He survived. Why? You'll understand that when we get to child programming. 6.3 billion people with 63 to 200 million of them specifically programmed. In the United States, USA, 280 million people, about. Out of that 280 million people, 4 to 5% are specifically programmed. Meaning that in America, right here, you have 14 million specifically programmed sleepers. By the way, does anyone in here feel that they are programmed or under mind control? You should, because we all are. Generally speaking. Generally speaking. If at any moment, I have to stop and say this, if at any moment you feel like you want to throw up, or you feel dizzy, or anything out of the norm, please raise your hand and let me know. I'm serious. These, on the general programming level, many people are programmed through television, but these specifically programmed people are programmed through subliminal message through satellite transmissions. What did the brother Lamar show? Satellites, cell phone towers. And those cell phone towers receive messages from scalar waves, satellites around the planet. Let's get ready to get into that. Bear with me. Now, Reagan, I think it was in the 70s, came out and said, the Earth is ringed with satellites. And what actually happens, you have a scalar wave. They'll have a satellite in space, a major satellite. You always hear, matter of fact, a satellite fell out of the sky 2 days ago. Right after the hurricanes. So we're looking at some type of Star Wars thing going on. There is a war going on between the 13 families. They all have different objectives, but one purpose. You will be assimilated. In Russia, as I said before, you have one family. In California, you have another family. Bilderbergs, Romanovs, Windsors, all these particular bloodlines. And they sit like a chess game and laugh and joke at you and move like chess pieces on a board to get to their objective and make bets. Understand that? Reagan said that the Earth was ringed with satellites. Okay, so we got the Earth ringed with satellites. All around the Earth, look like motherfucking Saturn. From now on, when you watch sci-fi, don't think of that as Saturn. Think of that as motherfucking Earth with motherfucking subliminal messages going around your head like they live. And during the 60s and the 70s, we're going to get more back into history again. They used buildings as radio towers. This was technology that came out of the Vietnam War, which we're going to get heavily into. One of those antennas was the World Trade Centers, which had what? Come on now. How many tapes we've seen on it? The biggest fucking antenna in the world was on the World Trade Center. And by the way, you know that 9 is the end of a cycle, and 1 is the beginning of a cycle. Understand that. Which is also the birthday of Ronald Reagan. We're going to show that. We're going to talk about that. The Empire State Building. HARP, which is in Alaska. I think they have one in Norway. So you have all these different things going on the planet. Let me write that down. HARP. World Trade Center. And then you have little cell phone towers. Everybody understand what I'm writing right here? Everybody got that? Looking at that?
I need to see it, baby.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I keep it in the back of your head, too.
Now, your cell phone is a personal amplifier that amplifies signals sent through HARP. What happens is they'll send a signal from Fort Meade, Maryland, to a satellite in space, which will then transmit this signal to other satellites all the way around the world. And from these satellites to the World Trade Center, to the Empire State Building, and so on and so on. They no longer use buildings as antennas as they did in the 60s and the 70s because of these new cell phone towers. Because Vietnam was a gigantic laboratory for HARP weapons, ELF. So your cell phone is a personal amplifier. And turn that motherfucker on and listen to the different beeping sounds. You got your system on you? Different sounds that you could cause your phone to ring. Ring, ding, 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 all this kind of stuff. You have a brainwave. And your brainwave moves similar to this. You take a rope and swing it up and down like that. You'll see it fluctuate. It'll look almost like a Vesica Pisces on every section. But that's basically how it is. Turn it off. In the signals that come through your cell phone are carrier waves, messages. Now the cell phone operates at your brain frequency based on HARP. Just recently in Israel, turn. Hear the different sounds? Those are programming codes. You hear that? Everything you just heard has a carrier wave within it, in the signal. And you wonder why you have certain thoughts. The same technology, as you all know, exists in your supermarkets and various other stores. Whenever you go shopping, I like that one, yeah. Oh yeah, that was me in my Matrix. When you go into a supermarket, they have these little black boxes that emit certain signals. What they do is, when we get to the frequency of the number 3, we'll talk more about that. But they have this particular box in all stores. Now, wait a minute. Mind control is bigger than just the government and the Illuminati family. is so big that little corner stores and all kind of other stores are starting to get their own forms of mind control and programming so you can buy their shit. Next time you go to the supermarket, you go in there for one thing and you come out with some motherfucking thing else along with it. Oh, I might as well get this, I might as well get that. Because they're sending out, when you hear that soft music, they program the soft music on the right side of the brain, and underneath it, sped up 3 times as fast, hard music on the left. With a subliminal message telling you to buy. Just go see the movie They Live. That shit is real. That shit is real. So your cell phone helps to program you. So that's why you gotta get a dollar on it, get a chip, get something on that motherfucker. Because they can, just recently I think it was in Israel, a man or a so-called terrorist was on the cell phone. And they sent out a wave to explode his fucking cell phone on his head. They can do that. As a matter of fact, they can do it without the fucking phone. Look what happened to Johnny Cochran. Has anybody heard anything recently? I talked about it, still don't hear shit about it. Y'all don't know about Johnny Cochran? Get the lecture, Rights of Uranus, that I did with Africa Bambaataa. Now, the information I'm about to give you about Johnny Cochran, I'm not sure about it, but I do know he was beamed with ELF and had a fucking brain operation and they put a chip in his head. That I know. The second piece of information is hearsay. I don't know. I can just tell it to you. That he is brain dead and that his wife, he has bodyguards around his house and his wife is trying to find out what happened to him. Sound familiar to you? Khalid Muhammad. Khalid Muhammad. And everybody talking about, oh, they poisoned him, they did this. That's bullshit. That's to throw your ass off. They beamed his ass. You have to understand what's going on in this realm right now and why you must raise your frequency. Raise your energy level beyond the 7/10 that you experience called physical reality. Get the book by June Pookrum. She just came out with a brand new book breaking that all down. One of the biggest antennas, as I said before, is at Fort Meade, Maryland, Baltimore. And I did a lecture on dealing with Baltimore, showed all the signs when Baltimore believe. They put up signs everywhere in Baltimore that say believe. Even big back trucks that just say believe on it. That's They Live. Fort Meade. Understand that. Now,
brother, what's the name of that book by
it's a sexual energy book. I can't think of the name of it right now. You might have to ask me when you see me on 25th Street or call me. I can't think of the name of it right now. But it's a very good book. Very good book. Dr. Jewel Pookrum. And she's breaking down how you are under mind control, how you are programmed through your DNA. Now, when you see those trucks or helicopters with those gigantic sound speakers on it, that's coming out of a program called Gwen. Gwen, which means ground wave emergency network. Ground wave emergency network. Go, that's another form of a portable heart machine. Now, if y'all saw my tape I did called Commercial Programs of Illuminati, I spoke about this. Go see the Twilight Zone episode called Maple Street. Maple Street. In that particular episode, Then have these aliens fly over a town. And when that spaceship flies over town, everybody's looking up. And it triggers a little boy to break down a comic book to the people in the town, and they go out and start raging. They land this particular spaceship and turn on a portable heart machine and turn off all the lights and electronic equipment and cause the people to rage. Now, what is this rage shit? All the movies I see come out is dealing with rage. Cabin Fever, Night of the Living Dead. What's that zombie movie came out the other day? 28 Days Later. Resident Evil. And then Apocalypse. All rage movies. All rage movies. And The Twilight Zone was one of the first movies to come out with this. Number one, in that episode of The Twilight Zone, the aliens were human. Wait, hold on, wait a second. Same thing with Day of the Earth Stood Still. Y'all, anybody seen that one? Spaceship land and shit, motherfucking human get out. What? Hold on. It's supposed to be an alien, right? It was flying saucer or something like that. You know, green with, you know, antennas and all kind of shit. Anytime you see aliens that are human, that is the Illuminati. That's what that means. And what did he do? He whipped out a portable heart machine and caused people to rage. What happened down at the Republican convention? Rage. Rage. So you have to understand that these are just tests for things to come. Remember the radio broadcast by Orson Welles about Martians landing and caused people to rage. Now, there's a book I told you to get dealing with that. I got it over there. And that book, I forgot the name of it. It's dealing with, it's called, I can't think of the name of it right now. But in that book, it's breaking down the different classes of people and how they reacted to that program, that radio program. Remember, they send transmissions through the radios. That's what Hot 97 is. That's what all those radio programs are. Gwen, Ground Wave Emergency Network, sends out sound vibrations. And in those sound vibrations are carrier waves. They can actually make you think you have no fucking legs. You can go marching downtown saying, hey, stop this, stop that, and they turn that shit on, you fucking fall down because you don't think you got legs no more because it told that to your mind. That's what it is.